Hello there everybody. Yeah, so this is the first video that I'm going to do. Nothing special, I'm not a very good flash painter or anything like that, but I figured I can maybe show some people how to actually paint, because I struggled to find anything to help me when I first started. So as you can see, I've got my little light board here. This is great, except mine's a little bit broken. I need to get another one, but can't be bothered. Still works. So this is the design that I'll be doing. It's just something that I drew up a few days back, a bit loose. I've got my dip pen here, so you can use dip pens. This is a B5 nib dip pen. You can find them on Amazon. I do sometimes use this, the Uniball Super Ink marker. These are pretty great as well. They have a bit of a nib on them than Sharpies, because I started off using Sharpies, but these are actually better, I think, anyway. And a guy called Repaints, I think his name is now, he got me onto these. Check him out on Instagram, his stuff's dope. We've got some brushes, so I do mine a little bit differently. It's like spit shading kind of thing, except I don't use my spit. I use some water and just keep it moderated with my lips sometimes. This is like what I use for actual shading, and this is what I use for putting the ink on. Like I said, this is my dip pen, so I'll be starting off on that. I use 100 Newton's Black Indian ink to line. I also use it for my shading as well. The thing is with dip pens, they're a bit of a strange thing. They're a bit of a struggle to get used to. I'm still not entirely used to them. I tend to actually keep them on a line like that almost, instead of like that, instead of square on. But the more you do it, the more you get the hang of it, and it's super fine to fuck up. I just load my nib up with some ink, which is kind of the point, and then just give it a quick dab on there. And then you always want to start from the left hand side, because the amount of times that I've done that and completely knackered it up, because my hands just obviously get in the way. Just start lining. See my design. I'm not too sure if you can see it very well on the video, but you can see my design underneath. It's nice and easy. All you're doing is following the lines. So you need to put quite a bit of pressure on these pens. It's not like the pencil or even a Sharpie. Really do need to put quite a bit of pressure on. So as you can see, I'm starting off trying to do some of these further bits, because obviously I don't want to be coming down. I don't want to be coming back here after I've done all this, because it's just going to smudge. So I think I'm actually a fairly quick liner, not necessarily always in a rush, but I always want to kind of, this is like my least favourite bit usually, because it just, if you mess it up, to start again really. There's not a lot you can do. You can see I've kind of neglected these now. So this light board has 3 settings, so I'm just going to put it up to the next setting. This light board I literally just got off Amazon. I don't know whether it was the cheapest one. I mean, you can probably tell it was the cheapest one, because like I said, it's broken on me. It broke on me pretty quickly actually. It's the port. The part itself is just very wobbly, and you've got to mess about with it. I'll show you after I'm done. Moving on to these toadstools now. That's what they're supposed to be, by the way. I don't know if you can actually tell, because, you know, bad. I am using Arches, by the way. Arches watercolour paper. I think it's hot pressed. Like I said, I'm still pretty new to this. I probably should learn more than I actually have done, but you know, what with work and stuff, because I'm not an apprentice or anything like that, so I can't live and breathe Flash as much as I really would love to. And I don't really have that many contacts. I have no contacts really outside of Instagram, other than the people that I get tattooed by, who sometimes give me occasional tips as well. But it's usually the guys on Instagram that help me out. Pretty good kind of community over there. Everybody wants to help each other, and not only that, you know, we get to see some great Flash as well, some great designs. I feel super inspired most of the time on Instagram, because there really is some really cool people to follow, and you know, putting out some really good stuff. Not just tattooers. In fact, to be perfectly honest, a lot of the people that inspire me are either apprentices or just Flash painters like me. So as you can see, I've probably messed up a few lines, like this one here a little bit. It's not as thick as the others, but that's pretty much it. And like I said, I'm pretty sure I line very quickly in comparison, because I tend to always be in a rush. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to put a couple of dots dotted around just to fill it out a little bit, because otherwise it makes the place look a little bit sparse. And we don't really want that. We want the design to look quite full. I'm going to add a few lines in here. Could be something that I completely mess up. Ah, balls. See, what happened there was the dip pen. I pressed too hard on it clearly, and the prongs, I can't remember what they're called, have crossed over, only slightly. And then as I pressed on it, it splashed again. Still not a big deal. It only happens every now and then for me. We're all learning, aren't we, guys? So yeah, that's the first part down. Hello again, guys. So what we've got here is I've picked out some inks. I like to use the Dr. P.H. Martin stuff, Hydrus. I have got some Radiants, which are these ones, which are also really good. But the only problem with these, I've started almost staining around my designs just to make them look a little bit fuller. But these run. These aren't watertight. But it's fine. I'm sure I do use them occasionally. So I got a set. Look there, I got a set for an anniversary present, so that was very nice. So I've got Hansa Yellow Medium there. That's my go-to yellow, although I would prefer something a little bit darker, like a sunshine yellow or something like that. But it's fine. I could always mix and make something better if I'd rather, but that yellow suits me fine. This is the Carmine 28H. That's lovely, lovely red, very vibrant. This is a turquoise blue 34H. I'm not actually 100% keen on this. I don't have a very good blue, but what I tend to do is I'll tend to add a little bit of water to this just to water it down to make it a little bit lighter. And then this is a fairly recent addition of mine, which is light green, but this one's an FW, this is an acrylic ink. And it works a little bit differently than the other inks that I'm used to, and I'm still getting the hang of it. But it'll be fine for something as small as this. So what I initially used to do, I'd always start off by shading in, so I'd add the black and then shade in that way. I don't really do that anymore because I've started using a coloured pencil, which always feels a little bit like cheating to me, because you've got a hell of a lot more control over things, whereas the black you used to be a little bit more strategic about. Looking at it, I probably should have added a couple of lines in here, but I can always go over that with a pen a bit later on. We might as well get started. So what I like to do, this is literally just water. It's just an old little tiny sample of jam jar, that thing that I got. Really handy for this kind of thing. So I like to make sure this brush is absolutely soaking wet and there's got no air bubbles in it or anything like that. And it's also handy to make a little patch of water. Again, this is just what I do. I don't actually think people are as weird as me and do it that way, but I like to do that anyway. I like to start off with the lightest colour first. It's just, if I know what colours I'm using, I'd rather do it this way. I've got that waiting in there. I've got my nice little Daler Rowney brush. I don't know if that's a good make. Something that I got from Hobbycraft. These ones I literally got from Amazon for like 12 quid, and they're pretty good brushes. I just wanted something a little bit smaller. I like to drench the brush in ink. I only put a couple of drops in this little well, so I'm not wasting a lot. And then just dab it around just to get any of the excess off. So what I'm planning on doing, so you need to remember that you try and work from shading. So, because like I said, I do the shading afterwards now, once it's all dry with a pencil. So I'm going to put a little bit of yellow here. And the great thing about this, all I've done there is I've just dipped that in there, made it a little bit dry, tested it with my lip, and then I'm just going to rub that up there, like that. I'm going to do the same at the top here. Or should I? Maybe I won't actually, maybe I'll leave a nice little line there. Because that looks okay-ish, although it looks like I've kind of forgotten it. The great thing about it is you can always go back. You can always go back and just do it in solid if that's what you want. It's not a huge deal. These inks don't tend to run very much. They're great. They don't dry very quickly, but for some reason I've barely had any smudging or anything with these. Something the skull always needs: yellow teeth. At least one yellow tooth anyway. But I tend to do quite a few of them. But I might just, you know what? I might just do one. We can always add to it a bit later if we want, but there we go, we've got a nice, lovely yellow tooth there. And you know what, I think that's actually it for yellow. So what I like to do now is I'll add maybe a little bit of water onto my little piece of tissue here. This is just literally kitchen roll, just some spare kitchen roll that I've got, and just give it a wash in the kitchen roll. Now this is fine obviously if you don't care about the desk underneath, which I don't. This is an old desk. I mean, I don't think it's going to stain. You can pretty much get stuff off, it's no big deal. But this way, what you're doing is you're kind of doubling it up. Basically, I'm just too lazy to go and change my water. Otherwise, you could just rinse it in water and go and change it. It's no big deal. But like I said, I'm far too lazy for that. Again, this is just the way that I do it. Somebody else probably has a much more efficient way of doing it. So feel free to do what you want, really. Just move on to the green. Just sucking on my brush to make sure all that water's out, because I really don't want too much water in there. And also give it a point. So again, load your brush up best you can, and then just paint around the edges. So the funny thing is about this acrylic stuff is that, as you can see, it doesn't actually wash off like this stuff does, like the rest of the inks do. It just stays to the thing, obviously with it being acrylic, which I was, you know, a bit shocked about, but it doesn't matter, I'm not bothered about the thing. There we go, we're going to do some nice green grass. So I would add some shading into here, but this stuff doesn't really shade very well. I'll blend out, should I say, not shade. It doesn't really blend out very well, but again, it's alright. I'm going to add a little bit of green into these bits underneath the toadstool as well, just because I don't want to leave them white, really. It's pretty much that. What I may end up doing is blending that into there, but again, I've kind of put the green there now, so I've made my decision. That's the thing with painting, you've obviously got to be quite decisive about what colours you're doing, and you don't want to put too many colours together like that one there. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, but it's no big deal. When you're painting, and if you're doing it this way, obviously if you're doing it before the shading, then you need to constantly think about where you're going, what direction you're going with things. So I know that I'm going to paint this skull a light blue. I'll do the blue first. So I've given this a good shake anyway. All I need is a drop in there. I also need some water, a little dropper here. I got this from my old job. So you can see I've added quite a bit of water there, really watered it down. We'll see what it's actually like in a minute. I might just test some on there. It might not be too bad actually. But I do have somewhere. Right. There we go. I've got a little bit of test paper that I like to test things on, just to make sure that I'm getting the right thing. Yeah, that should be perfect. It's just literally an old scrap of Archer's that I use just to test things. So we've got a nice wet brush. We've got a nice inked up brush as well, right there. Dabbed on there because we don't want it too much. And again, it's up to you where you start. I'm going to start maybe from the bottom here, because I'm thinking about where we need to shade. So there we go, let's do that. Let's do that there, like that. Test the water, and just blend it out. So I'm going to definitely blue this out here, because this should be where the skull is as well. Let's blue this out here. Let's just get a bit more ink on there. Well, is it inky dirty water? But I'm always up for collaborations, I'm always up for trades, splits, love doing splits. But as you can see, again, what I'm doing here is I'm planning on where I'm going to put the shade in, and pretty much where you can actually see the blue is where I will be shading. I don't know if that's right, don't know whether that's like the right thing to do, but that's how I do things. This bit here is looking a little bit sparse, so what we want to do probably is we'll want to add some form of blue here. We can probably get some shade here. I prefer doing these kind of smaller things so that I only have one design to worry about. I know a lot of guys much prefer to do the bigger stuff, but honestly it just makes me really anxious, because I know for a fact that I'm going to mess something up. It's just more stuff to mess up. But as you can see, this blue's actually gone quite nice now. Originally, it's supposed to be a very turquoisey blue, but when you add more water to it, it makes it, to me, it makes it a lot more versatile. Because I do struggle with, like I said, I don't really have a good blue. I'm going to put a little bit over here as well. So a little bit over there. my stuff is very loose anyway, right? So it's very amateur, obviously. But I just enjoy doing it. So I'm always trying to learn new stuff. I'm always trying to make things better, to make my stuff a lot better. I feel like I have gotten better than what I was. There's still a hell of a long way to go. When I look at some of the guys on Instagram, wow. I think actually we're alright for the blue. That turned out a lot better than I anticipated. So what I might do now is I'm just going to go over, well, because this is dried here, I'm just going to mix up a little bit more, just to make these bits a little bit darker here. Because as you can tell, they've it's kind of mellowed out a little bit. So maybe we'll just go over it again. On most of it anyway. Again, it's just to get those darker areas actually looking darker, because the problem is when you water it down, it kind of just looks very uniform, and obviously that's not really what you want. We're going to go for red next. Obviously that's the last part really. I'm thinking of doing these guys, the eye holes and the nose hole red as well. I'm not too sure. We'll see. Again, you really don't want to overdo things. And that tends to be a huge problem of mine, where I do tend to overdo things. Suck the remainder of the water out. This has already just been washed. Obviously, it's a lot easier to wash when it's all super watered down like this. Again, I'm not expecting a lot of people to respond, but it'd always be cool if you did. I'm going to post this on my Instagram anyway, so anybody who's even remotely interested can have a gander. Oh, balls. I've already messed that up. I think I was going to put a couple of little white spots in there, but I might do that just now with this one. I feel like we've got quite a good community, in the sense of very supportive people on Instagram, especially people who buy our art, or even just look at our art. It's fine, it's great. The amount of support and critique and everything that I've received on Instagram has been absolutely dope. I'm really grateful to everybody who does take part in that. So as you can see, I've done these toadstools. That's fine. I think I am just going to go ahead and red these guys out. There we go. Quite happy with that. That's quite good. I do like to put a few flecks of red in various things. Let's wash this off. Lovely, that is pretty much that. So I'm gonna do a bit of shading next. So yeah, as you can see, I've got me little, it's literally a Crayola black pencil. I found it in an old pencil case that I've had genuinely for absolutely donkey's years. So what I'm gonna do, I mean, I think this looks actually pretty good compared to what stuff usually looks like. Maybe what I should have done there is put a bit of red in these little cracks here, but it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to colour these in pretty solidly here. And I do like to have a flat edge on there anyway, because it comes out better. So again, this is Archer's paper that I'm using. Yeah, it's the green one anyway. So when I'm actually using coloured pencil as well, I like to use the front of the thing, which might sound absolutely bonkers because of course you use the front, but if you're painting, if you use the back side of things, it's a lot smoother and a lot less abrasive on your brushes, so it works really well. And it's a lot, I mean, I don't know if you can see in the video, but it's very, like I said, it's a lot smoother in comparison to the front. So what we're going to do now, again, I'm just going to shade a little bit. So again, the great thing about pencil is that you can just do as much or as little as you want. It's a lot more forgiving. The rest of it needs to be done very, very, very lightly. Obviously it just looks a little bit daft. So there we go, you can see, I mean, already, you cover that up. I think, I mean, just adding the pencils, yeah, I just add so much, I don't know whether depth is the right word, but it just makes it look so much cooler. And it makes, to me as well, it makes it look a lot more like Flash. Because people use like dry brushing and things like that. So I don't really like that very much. That little bit there, so I'm going to just try and rub it out. It doesn't rub out properly, it's not proper pencil, but actually that's worked quite well. So that's fine. Again, so much more forgiving. If that obviously was ink, there'd be no getting away from it. Again, obviously for these bits I'm putting quite a bit of pressure on to make them nice and dark. I mean, everybody's used coloured pencils before. But yeah, I think that actually looks quite cool. go. Just add a little bit of a shade into there. I don't really know whether that's adding really anything, or that's making it look a bit dumb. But I quite like that. It's quite cool. I'm going to try and add a little, yeah, something like that. It's supposed to be stones, by the way. I don't know if you can tell that. Cool. Dope. Sweet. That's pretty much that. There we go. So there's it kind of finished. I'm just going to go over with some stain now. So, this is a bigger brush. 11. I don't know what that means. Is it 11 inches? No, definitely not. I like to use the bigger ones to go around. It's got a nice bit of a point on it as well, and I don't use it overly much. I've literally just got a little filled my well, one of the wells, with water. And what I like to do is I've got the hydrous. This is one of the first hydrous. Well, this was the first hydrous I got actually, because I needed a decent skin colour, skin tone. This is burnt sienna, 19H. It's very dark, so you'd initially think, oh, damn, that's a bit too dark. But actually, when you blend it out, it just makes everybody look tanned. It's great. This might be a little bit too dark, so I'm a little bit hesitant. Yeah, that looks a bit better. It's a bit lighter. Yeah, it's a bit lighter, that'll do. Again, all I like to do is I do like to load this up like quite a lot. That's what I'm going to do now. I've still got some bits. It's not quite as dark as I'd like it, and I do like the overly stained tone that you get from things. So I'm just going to go and dip the bits in and just add a little bit of darkness in there as well. But yeah, there we go. So the last thing to do, really, let me just wait for it to dry. But while I'm waiting for it to dry, I might as well put my little thingy on, which, you know, admittedly is a little bit cringy, but I like it. Makes me happy. Any criticisms, comments, whatever you like, are welcome. I actually quite enjoyed this, so I'm probably going to do a few more, but any feedback would be great. Dope. See you guys later.